It's a brand new day with Mona News. It's time to have your say. She's got the scoop, the stories, all the latest trends. Mo's got the news, let's hear it. My dear friends, from politics to showbiz, no story's too small. Mo covers it all. She's got the inside call, her voice so smooth, like honey in the summer sun. With Mo on the mic, you know the news is always fun. Mornings with Mo, the best newsy news in the world. With her style so classic and her stories unfurled, from morning till night, she's got us in the know. Turn on your radio, let Mo's newsy news flow.
Good morning, everyone. It is the 11th of June. It is Tuesday, which means we have survived Monday. Round of applause for everyone, being functional adults for Monday. And on to Tuesday. Let's keep that momentum up. Thank you, Wolfram, for doing all of the mod stuff. Good morning, Squid Pro Quo. And Jess, good morning. We have a bunch of stories, and YouTube is among the top ones here. Good morning, Fun Diane. Our first story is Ben Potter, known as the YouTuber comic historian, passed away at 40 in an unfortunate accident. I was not a watcher of his channel, but I feel terrible for his family. A sudden loss is terrible to have to deal with. So let's read more about him. Ben Potter, the YouTuber commonly known as Comic Storian, died on Saturday, June the 8th, in what his wife said was an unfortunate accident. The content creator, whose main account has more than 3 million subscribers, was 40 years old. His death was mourned by many from the greater community of comic book fans and beyond, including condolences from toy company Funko, actor and Ice Cube's son, O'Shea Jackson Jr., writer and artist Jimmy Palamonti, and writer Robert Venditti, voiceover actress Susan Eisenberg, and more. Potter's wife, Natalie, shared the news of his death in a lengthy post on social media. She wrote, 2 days ago, on June 8th, my husband, Ben Porter, passed away in an unfortunate accident. To many of you, he was comic historian, voicing stories from across multiple different mediums. To his loved ones, he was one of the best and most supportive individuals anyone could ask for. As a husband, a son, a brother, a friend, or even just a stranger, Ben was loving and genuine. He was someone who would listen and make time for his loved ones. He would do his best to make sure everyone laughed and made sure they were okay. He was our rock, and he'd reassure his loved ones whenever they needed it. He was my world, and I need time to be with my family and friends. I have so many things I need to figure out, but firstly, I need to grieve. I ask that you respect my privacy as well as everyone else's. Right now, my priority is preserving everything he built, and I don't have any plans beyond that. His YouTube channel was one of his greatest accomplishments, and while we all need our time to mourn him, I know he wouldn't want it to end like this. Ben spent over 10 years spreading his love and appreciation for his hobbies. It was through his love of exciting stories and well-written characters that got him started on YouTube. The team and I want to keep that going on, to honor him by continuing to tell great stories by great people, as well as to keep the memory of our very own superhero alive. We supported each other on everything we wanted to do, and I'm not going to stop now, she concluded. His last comic historian video was published just 3 days ago. After years of running Comic Storian, Potter had the opportunity to write a backup story for Valiant's Bloodshot number 12 comic. He spoke about the fun experience in an interview with Comic Book Resources. The Valiant universe has always been exciting to me because it only recently rebooted. We all love being a part of the history of DC and Marvel Comics, learning how it all comes together or how our favorite superheroes team up. But the issues we run into are that it's just so long, so many little things have happened that are nearly impossible to research, Potter explained. But the Valiant universe takes the elements we all love about those other brands and has only recently restarted. You can jump right to the beginning and be caught up within a solid month of reading. Several peers and fans of Potter's shared their condolences online following Natalie's post. One person tweeting at Heavy Spoilers wrote, "Incredibly heartbreaking. Comic Storian was an absolutely incredible YouTuber that pioneered so much and got so many people into reading comics. Devastating news. Rest in peace." Now, I'm not a big comic book person, but if you feel so compelled, you know, right now, they're saying accident, you know, who knows right now? They haven't stated what the accident is. It could have been, something I'm not fully through the, article, so maybe that will come out. Content creator Del Wright added, "I'm so incredibly sorry for your loss. I didn't know Benny Long, but from the short time we were friends, I could tell he was a genuinely great person and individual. He was one of the best parts of the platform, never shied away from showing how passionate he was about things he was genuinely interested in, and I'm thankful for the time I knew him." So it, she's just euphemistically saying an unfortunate accident. I'm not quite sure. And honestly, she's dealing with her reality being blown up. So I'm not gonna pry. When she's ready to talk about what happens, I'm sure that will be good for her to get out. But right now, she's just, you know, making sure the world doesn't fall apart for herself or her children. In other news, um, well, FAFO, Miss Rebecca, because as we know, Flux says Rebecca is or Becky is a hoe name. But the LA socialite who ran over two young boys because she was speeding against her other rich boyfriend, you know, got sentenced to 15 years to life. She's told the judge, though, that she's suffered enough. What a dumpster trash person. Like, just an absolute one-way ticket to Snake Island. Think about me. I've suffered enough. What a absolute bead of boob sweat. A Los Angeles socialite who was convicted of murder for killing two young boys with her car during a chase with her lover whined to the judge that she suffered enough, then broke down as she was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison. Rebecca Grossman, 60 years old, who killed brothers Jacob, 8 years old, and Mark Iskander, 11 years old, in a hit and run accident in 2020, made a desperate plea to Superior Court Judge Joseph Brandolino to go easy on her as prosecutors demanded she receive the maximum of 34 years to life in prison. Her lawyers argued she should be let off with probation. But Brandolino gave her 15 years to life and ordered her to pay $47,000 in restitution, saying she was, quote, "not a monster as prosecutors portrayed her to be." The judge cited Grossman's history as a philanthropist in giving her the more lenient sentence. "I am not a murderer, and I ask you to recognize that true fact. Ma'am, you drove like an a-hole, and then you cost a family their two children. You are, in fact, an a-hole." Uh, Grossman wrote in a letter to the judge despite being convicted of second-degree murder in February. "My pain, my recognition of the pain the Iskanders suffer, and the pain I watch my family endure are punishments that I already suffer and will for the rest of my life. Well, now you can do it in orange. They say it's the new black. Please consider this suffering when you consider what more punishment to impose on me in this case. And I get, look, her family is torn apart too, but they can still write letters to the mom. They can still go see her. They can hug her. The family of those two boys only has gravestones and prayers. So spare me this poor little rich girl. You don't, maybe she'll write a book in prison. I don't know my struggle, I'm sure. Her husband, renowned plastic surgeon Dr. Peter Grossman, and her daughter Alexis and son Nick also submitted letters to the court, along with about 3 dozen of Grossman's supporters, asking for a probationary sentence. All three of them also arrived in court on Monday for her sentencing, where Rebecca Grossman faced the victim's loved ones. My pain is a fraction of your pain. Well, at least the circus music in your head stopped just long enough for you to figure that fact out. Dear Lord, to be this oblivious. And good morning, Christine. I hope you are doing well. John, it does seem like that, but she purposely, believe, drove drunk and excessively fast to beat her, not her husband, her lover home. I guess before her husband came home. I don't know. It's not my cup of tea. I never saw anyone, Grossman also reportedly said in court as she claimed she went into a state of denial following the crash. I would have driven into a brick wall. I don't know why God didn't take my life. Yes, the rest of us are asking too. Iskander called on Judge Brandolino to slap Grossman with a sentence that matched with the tragic deaths of her two sons, according to the newspaper. She's a coward, she reportedly said of Grossman. Peter Grossman stood by his wife through her trial, despite revelations that she was drinking with her then lover, former Los Angeles Dodgers pitcher Scott Erickson, before the crash. And the real victims in this story are these two guys, these two beautiful, adorable, wild, feral young boys. Maybe they weren't wild and feral, but, they were boys, and I'm going to go ahead and say possibly. Just absolutely trash bag, humaning on her part. Rebecca Grossman also continued to dodge responsibility in the letter, claiming that while the quote unquote tragic accident that killed the brothers continues to haunt her, she did not see anyone or anything in the road. You were going 70 in a residential area. Maybe that's why. Good morning, Broken Baker and Tammy. Just absolute oh, no, I was wrong. Prosecutors said she was racing Erickson in her Mercedes GLE, 43 AMG. I have no idea, not a carologist. And it reached speeds of up to 81 miles per hour before the fatal crash. Yeah, you plowed into those little boys. You didn't see him because you weren't paying attention because you wanted to go get your freak on with your boyfriend before your husband came home, and you were drunk to boot. Ma'am, just absolutely grossness. I have no idea what those letters mean, but yes, that's what it is. I can only imagine the pain that the little boy's parents, Nancy and Karim Iskander, feel minute by minute, Grossman wrote. I will carry my pain for the rest of my life. Yes, it's called guilt, ma'am. You did a terrible thing. You didn't respect the absolute battering ram that you were commanding. Grossman maintains that she was neither drunk nor impaired when Jacob and Mark were killed. Prosecutors say the married philanthropist was drinking at brunch with her then lover, then proceeded to race him through a residential street where she hit the boys, then fled the scene. The voices demanding vengeance and retribution are reacting to the tragic loss of Mark and Jacob, but they do not fairly describe me or who I am. Okay, Sarah Boone. Okay. Okay, Sarah. We just don't know who you are. How dare we? I mean, this family, I you can just see it, just the pain and eeping out of their hearts and souls. The letter to the judge was notably similar to the one she wrote to Nancy and Kareem Iskander, where the family claimed she made the letter all about her and suggested she could buy a home and transform it into a family burn and trauma center dedicated to their sons. Oh, miss me with that. The amount of petty I would bring to my victim statement if someone hurt my children and then sent me a Sarah Boone, like, Court TV would not have enough dump buttons. The bailiffs might have to take my rowdy behind outside, 'cause I could not be trusted to not I mean, y'all would see the petty just dripping off of me in waves of absolute, rage. So, ugh, just gross. In happier news, you have a name and I have a name, but we aren't the only ones, it turns out. The first non-human species found to use name-like sounds for each other are the elephants. I always knew I loved elephants. I wonder what the sound is for babar, asking for a friend. It turns out that humans might not be the only species that have individualized identifiers for each other. A new study found that African savanna elephants, an endangered species, have name-like calls for each other that represent or resemble human names, finding that potentially radically expands the express power of language evolution. So the cockroaches might not take over, elephants will. I wouldn't mind living in Babar country, to be honest. I think the elephants might do a better job than Congress. The douchiest one. You know, the one that just humps everything and tries to run over Jeeps, just tusk them. That would be the one called Chip. Researchers analyzed the rumble, a harmonically rich, low frequency sound that is individually distinct of African savanna elephants, which are listed as endangered on the IUCN Red List as populations continue to decline, largely due to poaching and land development. Significantly, researchers looked at 469 rumbles of three different types: contact, greeting, and caregiving from female offspring groups between 1986 to 2022. Using a machine learning model, they identified the recipients of more than 27% of those calls. These elephants are known for traveling with family units of about 10 females and their calves, and several family units will often combine to form a clan, according to World Wildlife Fund. With males only coming around during mating. The researchers also looked at the reactions of 17 wild elephants to call recordings that were addressed to them or other elephant. The elephants who heard recordings addressed to them had a quicker, more vocal response than those who were hearing recordings addressed to other elephants, researchers found. Keep those elephants away from the internet. I mean, it has done us, well, slight bit of good with memes and such, but possibly not the greatest invention ever if we use it incorrectly. And they found that elephants, the world's largest terrestrial species, according to Wildlife Fund, do indeed have individual vocal identifiers, a phenomenon previously known to occur only in human language. Other animals known to use vocal labels, like parakeets and dolphins, solely do that through imitation, researchers said in a study which was published Monday in the Journal of Nature Ecology and Evolution. Videos shared by researchers show how elephants respond to call recordings addressed to them. In one, an elephant named Margaret appears to almost immediately perk up to a rumble recording addressed to her. In the video caption, researchers say she immediately raises her head, then calls in response after a few seconds. A separate video shows Margaret raising her head to a call addressed to another elephant, but not responding. Another elephant named Donatella shows the animal issuing a call response after hearing her name and approaching the recording. More research on these observations is needed, the study authors said, particularly to better understand the context surrounding the calls. But so far, these results have significant implication for elephant cognition, as inventing or learning sounds to address one another suggests the capacity for some degree of symbolic thought, they said. African savanna elephants are found across nearly 24 countries, including Botswana, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, Kenya, Namibia, Zambia, and South Africa. In 2021, the species, as well as its close relative, the African forest elephant, received degraded conservation status. According to the IUCN, the forest elephant species was demoted to critically endangered, while the savanna elephant was listed as endangered, whereas both species were treated as a single species that was classified as vulnerable. The new status came after findings that forest elephant populations had declined by more than 86% over the course of 31 years, while savanna elephants declined by at least 60% in a half century. With persistent demand for ivory and escalating human pressures on Africa's wild land, concern for Africa's elephants is high. That need and the need to creatively conserve and wisely manage these animals and their habitats is more acute than ever, assessor and African elephant specialist Kathleen Gobush said at the time. So interesting. I mean, hey, the elephants and cockroaches and Twinkies will inherit the earth, and I'm kind of okay with that. And what in the absolute honey, fire ant, in Minecraft is going on in this world? I swear. Sick moment woman smirks and giggles in court as she's charged with the unaliving of a 3-year-old boy outside of an Ohio supermarket. Y'all, the patience that this family had, because I see a smirk. I am in Minecraft, allegedly. I am sprinting faster than Usain Bolt, and I am catching more air than that guy who jumped to get the judge. Like, she looks like a solid woman, and I am line tackling her that, in a fashion that would make even the most ardent Dub Bears fan smile, allegedly in Minecraft, because y'all know, absolutely not. This is the sickening moment a woman accused of unaliving 3-year-old Julian Wood in an Ohio grocery store parking lot smirked, smiled, and giggled her way through a court appearance as horrifying charges were read against her. Uh, Bianca Ellis, 32, displayed the disgusting behavior a week after she alleged, like, just that smugly smile. Oh my God, Lord Chippy, I am working on that stinger today. I have we don't have trial today, so yeah, John Gary, I am totally okay with, honey and fire ants and wild hyenas with piranhas strapped to their head. Like, ugh. After she stabbed this child to death and wounded his 38-year-old mother, Margaret Wood, outside Giant Eagle in North Olmsted outside of Cleveland. Authorities said the attack was an act of random violence. Ellis is facing 10 criminal counts, including 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. The judge indicated Monday that she would potentially face the death penalty if she was convicted. While appearing in court with her hands cuffed behind her back, Ellis appeared to fight back a smirk before she smiled several times as the charges were being read. Footage from WEWS shows. And look at this beautiful little guy. He looks so happy. He has a dinosaur backpack. I mean, my kiddos would love that. Just you are worse than boob sweat, ma'am. Just gross. Ellis also whispered while answering questions in court and hung her head while she was initially being arraigned over video conference. Ellis then giggled and replied, "See," when Judge Nancy Russo asked her if she was going to plead not guilty to the charges against her. News 5 Cleveland reported. She eventually said yes when the frustrated judge pressed her. Speaking in court before Russo determined bail, little Julian's father and Ellis said Ellis took everything from us. I mean, this father, the fact that he maintained composure because I wouldn't, I wouldn't. There is nothing I could that could ever replace my son, Jared Wood said, according to video from WEWS, adding, "Just do whatever you can to keep this monster behind bars." The judge ultimately set bail for $5 million, the maximum figure, with Ellis held in custody. Ellis was arrested after Julian and Margaret Wood were stabbed shortly after 3 p.m. North Olmsted police said. Officers saw her holding a knife when she was taken into custody, police said, according to WEWS. While Margaret was opening the trunk of her car to put groceries away, the woman viciously attacked both Margaret and Julian, loved ones wrote on a GoFundMe page. They also said the victim and suspect did not know each other. Julian was remembered as a sweet little boy who was obsessed with his new baby sister and always wanted to wrestle his older brother. Our family is overwhelmed with sadness and overwhelmed with the loving support that this community has already provided us, the fundraiser stated. This will be an incredibly long journey to recovery, but truthfully, we will never recover. But we will continue to share stories about our beautiful baby boy. I mean, Lord Chippy, your contestant awaits. That's all I've got to say about that. In better news, do not tussle with this lady. She may be 104, but she has no plans to retire. Maine's oldest lobster woman just turned 104 and still has no plan to leave her boat. I mean, you know what? I think that I could become a crusty lobster fisher. Maine's oldest lobster trapper just turned 104 and has no plans to quit anytime soon. Virginia Ginny Oliver celebrated her latest big day last Thursday surrounded by family in Rockland, where she enjoyed her favorite treat of chocolate cake and ice cream, WGME reported. Ginny, who was the subject of the 2022 kids' book, The Lobster Lady, told author Barbara Walsh that she doesn't feel old at all, even if she's acquired more aches in the recent years. "Nobody wants to listen to you complain," Ginny said. "Good morning, Fraudit Wrangler. Yeah, I think I want to grow up to be this woman. I mean, I know nothing about lobster fishing, but why not?" As for whether she plans on hitting her lobster pots again for the summer season, Ginny has no doubts about that. "Oh, I'm gonna go." I mean, she's just out here having fun, driving her husband around. Oh, I'm guessing, I don't know if that's her husband, but, oh, no, that's her 80-year-old son, Max. Oh my goodness. Ginny started fishing with her father and brother in the same Rockland waters she plies today, back when she was just 8 years old, making this season the 96th she will spend on the water. She has lived her entire life on the same street where she was born in 1920, according to News Center, Maine, where she raised four kids with her husband, each of whom lobstered. Her son, Max, 80 years old, still goes on the water with her today. All these years later, there's only one thing Ginny loves about lobstering: I'm still the boss. I love this woman. I want her to teach me how to do lobstery stuff. Well, we're finally getting some kind of movement on Epstein, even if it's not anything related to Epstein. Former Jeffrey Epstein cellmate, bodybuilder, ex cop turned drug trafficker, has been sentenced. I mean, if Joey Fatone took a lot of roids, he looks like a discount Matt LeBlanc from Friends who got way too into standing in front of a mirror with one of those really dumb tank tops, the string ones that I don't understand what they do. The man accused of, assaulting, you know, trafficking suspect Jeffrey Epstein in a federal jail has been sentenced to 4 consecutive terms of life in prison for masterminding a brutal 2016 quadruple murder that killed a man who owed him drug money and three bystanders. Nicholas Targiglione, 56, a group of bodybuilder co-conspirators tortured and unalived Martin Luna, 41, over the supposed theft of $250,000 in drug money. And thank you to Wolfram, who gifted 5 memberships, and those went to Nanny Goat, Ghost Fox, Pernella, Fisher of Men, DK Cripple. Uh, so thank you, Wolfram, and give him a thanks if you got those memberships. I don't think so. I think that it was somebody else, but I think it was coordinated with upper management, allegedly in Minecraft. Nicholas brutally and senselessly murdered Martin Luna over money, then ruthlessly executed Urbano Santiago, Miguel Luna, and Hector Gutierrez simply because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. U.S. Attorney Damian Williams said on Monday, and thank you, Fraud at Wrangler, for 5 gifted memberships. And those went to Karen Singer, Kevin, AZ Techie Before I Go, and David Del Prince. So, congratulations for those of you that got those memberships. And thank Fraud at Wrangler for his gift. And thank you for your support, Fraud at Wrangler. Roids will make you mean. Like, and the weird thing is you don't need them because I used to do weightlifting, and I swear to goodness, if you have any aggression, do a leg day, do a heavy deadlift, and you will never be hungrier in your life, but you will also get out that rage and aggression by lifting heavy things. You don't need the roids, sir. He tried to cover this up by burying all 4 victims in a shallow grave on his property. Nicholas had partnered with Luna to run Colombian nose powder from Texas to Florida when the victim told him he had been robbed of their proceeds. A few weeks later, Nicholas lured him out to a meeting where he allegedly planned to confront him over the cash. But the victim, unaware of the trap, brought his 2 nephews and friends along for the ride, according to federal prosecutors. Nicholas strangled him with a zip tie in front of Miguel Luna, the victim's 25-year-old nephew. I mean, this poor nephew are just, he's just there. Like, my uncle has to go meet a business friend, and then just absolute shenanigans conspire. Nicholas and two of his associates then transported Miguel, Urbano, and Gutierrez, who were simply at the wrong place at the wrong time, to a remote wooded location, forced them to kneel, and basically unalive them execution style, Williams said after Nicholas's conviction in April 2023. Santiago was 35 and Gutierrez was 43. Hudson Valley Police and the FBI discovered the remains of all four buried on, well, Nicholas's ranch in Ottsville, New York in December 2016. The killer is a former police officer who received a medical retirement. He was also a bodybuilder who trafficked steroids, nose clams, and other non street legal pharmaceuticals, around the Hudson Valley region of New York, according to prosecutors. He enlisted two other bodybuilders as muscle to help him collect debts. His lawyers blamed a drug cartel for the murders and denied his involvement. Nicholas faced a minimum mandatory sentence of life in prison after federal prosecutors declined to see the death penalty in charges that included murder, racketeering, and kidnapping. The Justice Department asked the judge to impose 4 life sentences to be served consecutively. So that means, you know, one right after the other, not concurrently, where you're going to stack all your crimes, but basically serve all of them at the same time. While awaiting his own trial, he was placed in a cell alongside Mr. Jeffrey of, the trash bag humanity in Manhattan just weeks before who knew? I mean, no one knows. He allegedly unalived himself. Epstein accused Nicholas of assaulting him about a month before guards found him, well, not living in his cell in the jail's special housing unit for high profile prisoners. Nicholas was no longer his cellmate when he died. After the prior incident, he told guards that Epstein tried to unalive himself after they found him with an orange cloth wrapped around his neck. Epstein lawyers and his brother have disputed that version of events. I mean, if you can't trust a former cop who just happened to be, you know, a four-time unaliver with, a slight roid rage, I mean, who can you trust in your prison facility? Really? A report conducted by the Office of Inspector General chronicled the incident. Epstein first told MCC New York staff that he thought his cellmate had tried to unalive him, but later said he did not know what occurred and did not want to talk about how he sustained his injuries, according to the Office of Inspector General report. He spent all that day on unaliving watch, which was cleared according to authorities. Yeah, you know what's strange? And politically, I could give two rats patooties about Hunter Biden. Can we have the daggone black book so we can get all of these gross, disgusting, humans, imprisoned where they so richly deserve? Because basically, Epstein was in jail for trafficking people to no one, just like his girlfriend or, I don't know, life partner weirdo, Ghislaine. So, ew. In other YouTube shenanigans, a YouTuber has been charged for having a helicopter blast a Lamborghini with fireworks. This is only something that could happen with, well, certain kind of influencers. A YouTuber who specializes in car shenanigans, well, now I instantly love him because he used the word shenanigans, is facing federal charges after authorities said he directed a video in which two people in a helicopter blasted fireworks at a speeding Lamborghini from above. Let me see if there is no pictures of this. Alex Choi, 24, is charged with causing the placement of an explosive or incendiary device on an aircraft The Department of Justice announced Thursday if convicted, Choi faces the maximum of 10 years in federal prison. Prosecutors allege that Choi posted a video last July made without filming permits entitled Destroying a Lamborghini with Fireworks. The video has since been taken down, but authorities says it shows Choi pressing a fire missiles button while two women aboard a helicopter shoot fireworks at the sports car as it races across a desert landscape. Officials believe that the video was taken at El Mirage Dry Lake Bed in rural San Bernardino County, about 60 miles or 97 kilometers northeast of downtown Los Angeles. Choi did not immediately respond for a request to comment that the Associated Press sent him via Instagram, nor to an email that was sent to his talent agency. Choi, who has over 1 million followers on Instagram and nearly that number of subscribers on YouTube, entertains his audience with what he calls, quote, the greatest car shenanigans. Other stunts of his include filming his passengers as he rapidly accelerates and taking a Lamborghini through a gas station car wash. I mean, yeah, this seems like a really dumb thing that you probably should have figured, hey, maybe I should run this by a lawyer. I mean, you've got a gajillion subscribers. You might could want to have a lawyer that'll tell you, you know, I'm pretty sure you can't take anything that goes kablooey on, any sort of flying apparatus anymore. A spokesperson for the Department of Justice said Choi appeared in court on Thursday and a federal magistrate judge ordered him released on $50,000 bond. His arraignment is scheduled for July 2nd. No plea was taken. I mean, I feel like this is just FAFO, and the federal government is always gonna FO, you know? I mean, you're always going to find out if the federal government would like you to do so. In sad news, a park ranger passed away in a freak accident while helping visitors during an annual festival, and he has the most glorious handlebar mustache. It is a commendable mustache, and I'm sorry for their family's loss. A ranger at Bryce Canyon National Park in Utah died on Friday after sustaining injuries while working with visitors during an annual astronomy event. The National Park Service, NPS, said the 78-year-old park ranger, Tom Lorge, was working with visitors at Bryce Canyon. Wait, I am going to try to do something. I'm going to try to set Squabob up as a moderator on whatchamacallit, but yeah, you have to be smarter than this thing. And I am not quite smart enough. I will have to figure that out later. But I was going to attempt that. My technical skills are slowly improving to barely competent. I I want to be semi-competent by the end of the year, shooting for the stars. Let's see here. He was working with visitors at Bryce Canyon's national or annual astronomy festival at about 11:30 p.m. on Friday when he directed a visitor to a shuttle bus and fell. During the fall, Lork hit his head on a large rock. The visitor quickly notified nearby law enforcement park ranger as Lorg laid unresponsive on the ground. He seems like just a really nice guy. Several park rangers, medically trained bystanders, and local EMS provided life saving care but could not revive Lorg. Tom Lorg served Bryce Canyon, the National Park Service, and the public as an interpretive park ranger, forging connections between the world and these special places he loved, Park Superintendent Jim Ireland said in a statement. As our community processes and grieves this terrible loss, we extend our deepest condolences to all of Ranger Lorg's family and friends. We also want to express gratitude to the National Park Service and Garfield County Emergency Service staff who responded, as well as to the bystanders who assisted NPS first responders. NPS said Lorg had worked as a registered nurse in Seattle for 40 years. He had also worked as a permanent, seasonal, and volunteer park ranger for more than 10 years. Lorg started his time with NPS in June 1968 at Carlsbad Caverns National Park in New Mexico. Over the decades that followed, he served 13 other national park uh, sites, including Badlands, Bryce Canyon, El Mapas, Fluorescent Fossil Beds, Glen Canyon, Klondike Gold Rush, Mount Rainier, New River Gorge, Olympic, Saguaro, Yosemite, Zion, and Dinosaur National Monuments. Tom was a dedicated public servant, and his loss will be felt by the many who knew him across the National Park Service. A post on the Bryce Canyon NPS Facebook page reads, "What an awesome, hopefully, this man fostered the love of public service, the outdoors, and, you know, just seeing all of these incredible places in several people. He laid the foundation for the next, people who might consider becoming a national park, ranger just because of his absolute love and his dedication to this particular service. And I really hope that, you know, he definitely got to see all of the wonderful stuff. And it's just, even though something is coming to an end, he's, 78 years old, it still seems like too soon. And, you know, you never have enough time. Good morning, Marissa. Let's see here. What's the next thing? In absolute bad mom behavior, what in the actual Schnell? A mom melts down after her son was snubbed at elementary school awards ceremony. Single these MFing kids out. Uh, you know, because that's all you need is your mother causing an absolute scene at your, you know, final day of school award ceremony. If mom's not happy, nobody's happy. An Atlanta helicopter mom proved that adage was true on Tuesday as she erupted in expletives at an elementary school awards ceremony after her son was snubbed in spite of his scholastic achievements. His report card says different, spat the outraged Mama Bear as the school's principal attempted to tame her outburst. Pull that S up. Footage of the eye-popping exploit caught viral wildfire, gathering more than 6 million TikTok views. "You're gonna single these MFing kids out," barked the unnamed woman whose son is said to be in the first grade. Yeah, possibly he's not gonna win the citizenship award if you're his example. Stunned parents and children were sitting silently in the auditorium watching on in horror. "Let's go," the mom yelled at her little one as they stormed out of the ceremony. Shocked social media spectators sympathized with the woman's son, leaving comments such as, quote, "I can't imagine how humiliating that must have been for that child. He probably felt embarrassed." And unfortunately, moms and dads who parent with extreme intensity, strict rules, and short fuses tend to impose a great deal of psychological damage onto their tots. Oh, well, there you go. Awesome possum. Just don't be an absolute douche canoe. Being a kid is hard enough. Look, as long as your kiddo knows that you're proud of them, they don't need all the little papers and stars. They don't. Research from Ohio State University published early this month that found that harsh parenting practices can lead to a higher risk of mental behaviors and emotional health issues in children. My shock. You can imagine it. We have high expectations for ourselves as parents. We have high expectations for what our kids should be doing, said lead study author Kate Galwick. Then on the flip side, you're comparing yourself to other people, other families, and then there's a lot of judgment that goes on. And whether it's intended or not, she added, it's still there. Amy Chua, a self crowned tiger mom who demanded perfection from her daughters as kids, shared those sentiments. The author recently revealed her remorse for openly losing her cool when the girls, now both young adults, fell short of her incredibly high standards. I still believe achieving excellence can bring a lot of benefits, and I'm glad I instilled a sense of grit in my kids. No, you instilled a debilitating fear of failure and possibly, slight neuroses. Ask me how I know for a friend. But I'm sure you felt very vindicated when your daughters got to be valedictorian, you know, while suffering nervous exhaustion. Look, kids are little tiny humans who are still trying to figure out what that's going on in this world, and you're trying to push them to be, a semi-functional human. Just be a good parent. Don't 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 look at other families. Look at yourself. You know, practice makes progress, not practice makes perfect. As long as you are incrementally teaching, say, your youngest, most feral, to have an inside voice, that's the best you can do. You know, not every kid is meant to be the brightest student. Find what that kid is really good at and encourage that. It might not be something that you particularly find, very compelling, but if your kiddo does, try. Do I Have I learned all of the Godzilla stuff that my kids have tried to tell me? No, but I generally, ask them questions. I try to understand why they're excited about their Roblox games or their, grinding on a new game. I don't get it. It's not something that interests me, but if it's something that they are enjoying, just don't be a mega thunder cow. On that note, I do have to leave a little bit early. I did learn that. This is a story time. My youngest daughter was the first one to love Godzilla, and it was the Godzilla with the guy from Breaking Bad. I know I will leave in just a couple minutes. Um, Basically, they looked like cockroaches, and my daughter decided to shorten cockroaches and monsters and just said that she hated them. And I am sorry for you Shizzy Raiders. I am getting ready to send you on to legal vices, but I hope you all have a lovely day. If time allows, after getting my daughter's braces off, yes, off, um, I might do a Sarah Boone react with, maybe an adult beverage this afternoon. So be on the lookout for that live stream. And I am sending you guys off to Legal Mindsets. Have a wonderful day. And then tomorrow we get to see more of Proctor, the douche nozzle, try to salvage any bit of his reputation. I'm putting my bets on probably not, but I don't have my 8 ball fixed. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Have a lovely day and, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Bye, guys.